Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen, and this is going to be quite a short video focusing on the Erkul.games DPS calculator. Basically I asked the org what should we be making a video on, and this is a suggestion that we got. Now I've used this for quite a while now and it seemed to me quite intuitive, so it wouldn't have occurred to me to go into any detail on it, but then it's really easy to forget that for a new player there's so much stuff to learn, and looking at this, you know, it can be a bit intimidating, and it's changed a lot actually since I first started using it, so it's probably worth spending a few minutes just having a wee look at this. So if you were to find your way to Erkul, it's Erkul.games, will get you there, but also just if you were to Google Erkul Star Citizen, it's going to bring this up as well. So what's it for? Well, it calls itself a DPS calculator. It's not really what I use it for. It's not really what most people use it for, I don't think, although it certainly does that very well. But let's have a wee look here. So we'll pick a ship, just go up to the top right here. Oh, first of all, this here tells us that we're in 3.16 live build. If we click on the arrow, PTU is closed for 316. We're just about to hit 317, but that's still in Ibukati. It's not in the public test yet. If it was in the public test, we could actually switch this to the public test and we could see what the changes are going to be. So probably be looking at that next week. But yeah, so ships. Let's just pick something that everybody's going to know. So Avenger Titan. Everybody knows the Space Penguin. So what it's done here is it's changed everything and populated it with the components that you would get if you either pledged for or bought an Avenger Titan in-game. So this is the straightforward stuff. You can see here the Avenger Titan details. It's going to give you the crew size and hit points and all sorts of stuff there, speed, the maximum pitch you'll roll if you care. But more importantly, I think, is it's going to show you where you can buy the damn thing, which at the moment is a new deal in Lorville. Or apparently the cargo offices of some stations. I'm not entirely sure what that is. If that's, you know, all stations, I don't think it is. But certainly, New Deal Lorville, it's like dead cert. Go there, you can get it. And you can rent it from these places as well. So, again, over here we can see the basic DPS counter of your guns and of the missiles. And your power that you're generating, the cooling that you're generating. Shields, obviously here, sorry, and the EM and IR signatures. Some of the stuff, as we know, isn't massively important in the game as it is. Also, I was asked what's the difference between sustained and burst damage, and my answer to that is I'm not 100% sure, but my take on it is if we were to switch it to burst, we'll see that that's 1600, sustained it's only 1220, so burst damage, if you imagine that you were firing your guns for say 3 seconds, a target in front of you, then assuming that you were hitting the target, you're going to be doing 1600 DPS, so 1600 damage per second for each of those 3 seconds. So 4800 damage is what you're going to cause to that ship. Now, however, if you were to be firing your guns for 30 seconds, right, or sustained fire, that number is going to go down. And the reason it's going to go down is because you are firing your guns for 30 seconds. You're going to run out of charge, assuming you're firing the stock guns, which are like laser repeaters. You're going to run out and they're going to have to recharge. So there's going to be some seconds that the guns aren't firing, which is why the sustained DPS is lower than the burst DPS. That's my take on it. You're more than welcome to tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. It could very well be on this point, but that's what makes sense to me. So these are the stock components, as we know. So let's have a wee look here. Now, I wouldn't put a ballistic Gatling on anything at the moment, just simply because of the ammo limitations of that. So let's just keep with the repeater theme. We click onto that, it's going to tell us everything that we can fit in that slot. And scroll down. So I'm just going to put a Panther repeater on there, kind of in keeping with the badgers that we've got on the wings. So if you look back here, the DPS has gone down because that ballistic Gatling is going to do more damage than the laser repeater is going to do. However, it's going to run out of ammo, so, you know, go figure. Always trade-offs in that regard. Now, you can play about with the different gun settings. We could put, I don't know, we could put a scatter gun on there. That's going to knock the DPS up, I would imagine. But it's obviously it's harder to hit with a scatter gun. Your range is going to be very limited. So again, trade-offs there. But it's nice to have this, just to have a wee play about. But also, you know, we can see here that we're using gimbal mounts, which is what comes stock on the Titan. We could get rid of those gimbal mounts. We could just say leave empty there. So and then we'll put attrition 4 on there, which is going to put the DPS up because it's a bigger gun, because we're not using the gimbal anymore. So lots of stuff that you can play about with, but I'll tell you what I find the most useful about this. We saw that when we went into the Adventure Titan, it told you where you could buy it. Because we're in this attrition 4, that's changed here to attrition 4, right? And we can see that we can buy this in Lorville. And that would be the same. You change the gun to change it to a Rhino, and it tells us everywhere that we can buy a Rhino. So really useful if you're putting a ship together. It's going to tell you where you need to fly to actually buy the parts. And this applies across the board. So if we were to look at, well, one of the first things you're probably going to want to change is a quantum drive. So let's see, what would I have on an Avenger? I would put an Atlas on it. So that tells us we can only buy that in HRL 5. So now we know we'll need to go there and get an Atlas. So I should also mention that you can play about with the power triangle here as well to see what effect this has. If you were to, if I was PvE bounty hunting in a Titan, I would probably set this more power to guns, more power to shields, less power to engines. And that should have an effect on the DPS and the shields. So let's move it back a bit. We can see the shield numbers changing, but the DPS isn't. So that's odd. But then thinking about it, we're still in burst. If we change it to sustained, basically the burst is only, as I said, very short bursts of fire. So having more power and having the weapons recharge faster isn't going to make any difference to the burst damage. But I would imagine if we change it now, yeah, we're going to see that number changes. So yeah, I would maybe have it around here. That gives us an accurate figure to what our sustained damage is going to be with higher weapon power, and also our shields with slightly more power to shields. To reset that, just double click and we're back to the default. So let's see, we were talking about quantum drives, and I said the Atlas, but not everybody likes the Atlas. If you don't want to do long hops, you might be better with something like the burst. So we could find the burst in here, just in this chap here, and it'll tell us the time it's going to take to get from, say, Crusader to Hurston, right, 4 minutes 57. Right, Microtech to Arcor is the other example it's giving us, and we can't even do that because the burst doesn't have enough fuel. Back to the Atlas. There we go. We can do that jump now. We can also see that the Crusader to Hurston, it takes a bit longer, about 30 seconds longer with the Atlas. So this is a bit unwieldy, hopping between the two. So is there a way to compare? That would be nice. And yes, there is. So if we go to quantum drives over here, and we tick from this rather long list, we need to know what we're looking at, obviously. The Atlas and the burst, and compare selected. We can now see the differences exactly between these two. The speed, we can see that the burst is faster, accelerates better, has a slightly longer spool up time, and all the stuff that you'd really need to know. So yeah, you can use this to compare as many things as you want, really. So quite good in that regard. It's a useful planning tool if you just thought, right, I really want to get a new ship. I don't know what we'd do. We'll do just an arrow, yeah. It's looking for a wee light fighter, and you're like, well, what do I do? What weapons can I put on it, and where can I get them? You can use all of this to adjust stuff here. Also play with the missiles as well, which is quite useful because you don't necessarily know what missiles you'll be able to swap out. Wee thing about the missile racks, incidentally, I don't know, not everyone's going to know this. Size 2 missile rack, right? So it's always going to be a 2 at the start of this 3-digit code because it's a size 2 missile rack, right? So 2, and then what is it now telling us? It is telling us that you have one size 2 missile. This one here, size 3, so that's telling you it's a size 3 rack, and you have 2 size 2 missiles. So basically, you can tell by the missile rack what kind of missiles you're going to be able to fit on that rack. You'd also obviously be able to swap this to, let's see, yeah, so we could swap it to a 341, so we know that's going to be a size 3 missile rack, and we're going to be able to put 4 missiles, and they're going to be size 1. So there we go, we put some 4 Sparks on there, which is probably going to increase the DPS with the missiles quite a lot. So there's a lot, there's a lot of information that you've got access to with Erkul. And you can go into it in as much detail as you want. It has the potential to be quite a useful tool. Also, you can share this build with other people, org mates or just other people. If we wanted to go with this, which would be a stupid build, but we could just share it, and that's going to save the URL, and then we can just paste that into Discord or whatever we want, really. So, useful tool, but for a beginner, and I know I've kind of gone down various different rabbit holes here, but for a beginner, I would say the most useful thing is for this, very simply, to show us where can we buy an arrow. We could buy it in area 18. Cool. So now we bought the arrow, and we want to swap out this ballistic Gatling to a repeater. Where can we get the attrition to? Well, we can get that in Lorville. Or we could go through and see, can we find a ballistic repeater that we can buy in area 18? Save us a flight. Yes, we can. We can get a Badger. So there we go. We'll stick a couple of Badgers on this arrow instead. And that way we're just flying down, buying the ship, going to centre mass, buying a couple of guns, sticking them on. We've already bought the ship. Don't have to go anywhere else. And you can take this, you know, to its logical conclusion. Say, well, we don't want the beacon because it's crap. What will we put on this instead? Let's look at the military one, which we cannot buy in area 18. You can see where I'm going with this, can't you? I mean, it's just a question of where can I buy this different stuff. We can buy the Spectre. That's quite a nice little quantum drive for size 1 quantum drive. Good acceleration, good speed, not very good range. But yeah, so that's what I would say the main purpose of Erkul is for a beginner, is where can you buy the ship, where can you buy the components, what different guns can you actually put on the ship, and the various size configurations that you've got available to you, and where can you get those guns. Going to swap out the shields, same deal, where can you get the shields? I'm going to want to put an FR66 on this. And I need to go to either Orson, and let's face it, no one's going to Orson, or I need to go to Cruel 1. So there we go, and you build up your ship, get your parts, and you're good to go. So yeah, that's Erkul. You can spend as much time or as little time as you want. You can just use it for a shopping tool to show you where to buy stuff, or you can use it to actually min-max all of the available information, and that's going to get more necessary as the game progresses. But there we go. That's a basic guide to Erkul. Use it as a shopping tool, and then play about with it and learn what it can do to give you that little bit more information. Any other stuff that people want a video on, please just write in the comments. I'll endeavour to get onto it, and try to keep it simple. You know, the idea of Star Citizen University is to help new players learn the game. Maybe at some point we'll progress to the more complicated stuff, but keeping it simple just now. And anybody that wants to help be involved with Star Citizen University, I will put down the information for the org itself in the description. You can join us either as a new player or as an experienced player who's just willing to pass on some of what they've learned in their time in the game. So that's a plug for the org. Everybody's welcome. Anyway, I'm not going to keep rabbiting on. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that sort of thing, and give us a look over in Discord. Cheers, and fly safe, guys.